morning, everyone. Well, this has been a week where our sense of smell has been sated. On the one side, there was the beautiful smells. One day I sat right out in front of the church there, and I could smell lilacs and mayday trees and cherry and apple trees in bloom. And on the other side, of course, is what happened with the smoke. The itchy throat and itchy eyes and all of that. But in the specifics of our experiences and our lives, and beyond them, there is God, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, within it and beyond it all. Always there with us, in the midst of life, in all of its fullness. Welcome, everyone. Welcome who you are, welcome as you are, and welcome to this place. It is a sacred place on the land of 36 people, where today we are bringing you reflections from a gathering of the Northern Spirit region last week on Treaty 8 land, where Valley View resides. So will you help me with our opening? Would you want to come and help? Okay, we have a firelighter here. Once there was a man who said such amazing things and did such amazing things that people were always asking, "Who are you?" And once he said, "I am the light." Those who love the light, follow the light. This is the light of God among us. Friends and neighbors, welcome home. A lot of the music that we'll be singing this morning is coming from our gathering at Region last week. And so the first one was one of those. Sana Sanamina. Number in Sing Voices United of our cover book, 128. Those are the words to the song. So if you know the tune, you're on the book. I looked this while you're looking it up, though. Seems that some people need to look it up. I looked at the meaning of this word yesterday. Couldn't find it. It's attributed to no less than 4 different languages from Africa. Well, and one group even attributes it to the Philippines. So this is one of those kind of mysterious hymns and songs that just catches on all over the place. So sometimes they said it means hello, in other places it said it means Hosanna. Let's just sing it with lots of joy. join with me in prayer. Holy One, you are the balance of fire and water, light and dark, life and death. We come here thirsting. Some for answers, for solace, for comfort, for friendship. Maybe simply just for your presence. We trust that you, who are the water of life and the fire of your love, will give us what we need, more than what we want. And so together we pray the prayer that Jesus taught. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, now and forever. Amen. So, if any children would like to come and see, looks like we have illustrations, or older people too.
Are those diamond hearts?
RW got to spend time with children at Region last week, and so he said he would be willing to share with us the teaching that he shared with them. Are we doing 3 hands? Do you want?
No, that's fine.
Hi, good morning, and young people. So what I did actually, it happened to be at the gathering also that I was asked to speak with the youth, and I thought, what can we talk about that's something that we don't know about yet, but that we hear all the time? And it was one of the young people that asked the question, what does it mean to be on Turtle Island? Why do we call it Turtle Island? So I thought about that for a long time, and I thought, you know, in order to even talk about that, we need the story, how did the turtle get its shell? How was the turtle given its shell in the first place? So I brought one of my own turtles, which is a shaker, and I wear that on behind my left leg at ceremonies. So it's back here. So a long time ago, so we could pass it around while I'm telling you the story. And then I brought my other one. Well, got a few, but this was one of the first turtle gifts. It's kind of an old, grungy looking turtle, but it's pretty animated. It's pretty good. It's a little scary to hold when I first got it. I didn't really want to hold it, but. So a long time ago, we had a trickster, and his name was Umuhoza in the Dvis Wreakes. And Umuhoza one morning was all grumpy because he was woken up by the chattering and clattering of the blue jays. They were talking a little bit too loud to him. So he was still hungry when he woke up. So he was kind of groggy, like we do when we get out of bed first thing in the morning. And he was going to go look for some food. So he's running around and he saw a fishing village and they were cooking them some fish. So he asked, he was hungry, can I have a piece of fish? And the fisherman said, sure. So he handed him a piece of fish. But it was really hot, and he told Umuhoza, be careful because you're going to burn your hands. So sure enough, what happens? He was in such a rush to eat it, broke his hand. So he ran, but he couldn't quite see because he was still half sleeping. So he ran up to the lake. And in running to the lake, he tripped. And he didn't really see what he tripped over. But then he heard this voice and said, hey, watch where you're going, buddy. And he looked around and he couldn't see anything. And then he saw a turtle. But the turtle wasn't like how we know the turtle today yet, because the turtle had no house, so to speak. So it was all shiny and soft skin, and her 4 legs and her long neck and her little face, cute face was popping out of the mud. And Umuhoza felt really bad about that, so he said, how can I make it up to her? I'm going to go back to sleep and I'll think about that for a while. So he went back to sleep, and then he was thinking, and then he thought, you know what? I'm going to go look around. So he went back out all around the shores of all the 7 Great Lakes, that whole area there, until he found 2 shells. So he went back, he was all excited because suddenly he knew what to do. So he went to Turtle, and he said to Turtle, see if I can hold this here somehow. So he said he brought the 2 shells to the turtle. Wow. So he brought the 2 shells to the turtle and said, "Here, turtle, I brought you a home." And he put the 2 shells together. So we have the top one, right, and the bottom one. And then he put turtle inside of the shells. And turtle was really happy with that because now she had a home. But it was even more so because sometimes, now with the teachings, turtle's tail, it shows us the path that we have been to and all the excitement and all the trials and adventures that we've gone. But turtle's neck can be very long. So when it pokes out, it's showing the way where turtle wants to go. And if turtle gets scared sometimes, he can hide in his own house. So he pulls his legs in and his arms in. And then what happens is there's no direction, right? Because normally there's east, west, south, north. Every time the turtle walks, each leg is the direction. But if he pulls it in, there's no direction. And so the shell became so hard and so big and strong that eventually the other story with Wreakes became to live on Turtle Island because turtle was the only strongest animal and had the most space for all of us to be on Earth. That's why we kind of call it Turtle Island. So turtles are very special, and especially with First Nations people because we live on Turtle Island. And so we honor that turtle all the time. And sometimes if you're lucky, you have a turtle for a pet for a little while. But be careful because turtles get really old. They get so old that sometimes they can be up to 175 years. And there's an island, and I always say it wrong, Galapagos? I never say that word. And they have turtles who are so huge that even a person can't see over the top of their home. And they're really high up and really majestic. So if you're going to have a turtle as a pet, make sure because it's going to have a long, long life. And that's kind of how turtle we got its shells. And so turtles have their own shell, their own homes to carry with them in their roots. So that's kind of a short story about how turtles got its shell. Any questions? No?
I did once see a turtle in a zoo, and it was huge.
Yeah? Good. You guys have any questions at all? No?
Is a turtle born with its shell?
Very soft, yes. Ever since that time, yes. Yeah. So that's why sometimes when we're driving on the road, especially this time of year, because lots of turtles now they're nesting, right? Just like all the birds and bees and everybody else. So sometimes we have to be careful with that. Because if we crack turtle shell, that also means in a way that we crack the earth that we live on. So that's a little bit all.
Do you know that a turtle can actually feel when their shells are being touched?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're very sensitive. Very sensitive. So, thank you. Rondy, do you want to do a prayer?
Take up the song.
Oh, take up the song or blessing?
Can you pray with me, please? Dear God, thank you for the home that we have on earth and in you, and for the love that you give us. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Let us pray. God of infinite and unconditional love, we come before you acknowledging the burdens that we carry. Sometimes it takes a miracle just to get out of bed and walk through another day. Sometimes it's because we care so deeply for someone who is ill, or for those who are far away. Sometimes we're wondering what will happen to our bodies and our minds and our spirits, or for those of the people we care for. There is so much beyond our control, and it is often overwhelming to stand helplessly by and watch hate and fear acted out in our world. Our small actions of love and care, kindness and generosity, our words of hope and truth, sometimes they feel empty, inconsequential. Forgive us the times when we give up or give in to defeat and despair. Reach out your hand to us. Give us your life-giving water so that we might live once again in trust and hope. We pray this in the name of Christ who moves in this community, where many hands reach out and hold us when we need it. Amen. In the book of Revelations, chapter 22, verse 21, it says, "And let everyone who is thirsty come. Let anyone who wishes take the water of life as a gift."
Oh The scripture this morning will be from John 17 to verse 20 to 26. It is Jesus praying for his disciples. So if you wish, you can even bow your head. I ask not only on behalf of these, but also on behalf of those who will believe in me through their word, that they may all be one, as you, Father, are in me, and I am in you. May they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. The glory that you have given me, I have given them, so that they may be one, as we are one. I in them, and you in me, that they may become completely one, so that the world may know that you have sent me, and have loved them, even as you have loved me. Father, I desire that those also whom you have given me may be with me where I am, to see my glory, which you have given me, because you loved me before the foundation of the world. Righteous Father, the world does not know you, but I know you. You and these know that you have sent me. I made your name known to them, and I will make it known, so that the love with which you have loved me may be in them, and I in them.
You just got some blank pages.
Did I steal your paper?
So did anyone recognize a very familiar line in there? In the Gospel of John? It's a line that was used to describe the vision of the founding churches of the United Church of Canada. In Latin, it is ut omnes unum sint, that all may be one. The vision was that one day there would be one church uniting all denominations in Canada. Of course, that hasn't happened. But as I was contemplating this passage this week, I was thinking that perhaps there's a more mystical understanding, since John was kind of a mystical writer, that in some mysterious ways, all people, religions, spiritualities, cultures, denominations, humanists, that we're one in some way or another. One thing that is clear, that is the United Church of Canada has had, because of that commitment to oneness, many conversations over the years with other denominations, with the Catholic Church, with the Anglican Church, and other denominations have become part of the collective, so to speak. And we've also had conversations with other representatives from other religions as well. And all of those things, including and especially our conversations with First Nations people in Canada, have affected and helped to form the United Church of Canada. Today, our representatives, Heather Mackenzie, and Helen Medill, and 3 youth who went to the regional gathering last week are going to share some reflections with you about their experience of the first gathering of the Northern Spirit region of the United Church of Canada. RW shared with you a story that he shared with the children at a conference. And so I just wanted to share a couple of things that were highlights for me. And it underlines this whole, how are we one when we are so different? We spoke, or in that gathering, we sang in no less than 5 different languages. We sang in Korean, we sang in Spanish, We sang in Dutch, we sang in English, we sang in Cree, and I think there might have been several others as well. But it was that wonderful feeling of being able to sing together, even though we're singing in languages that we may not understand. There's that oneness in the midst of all the difference. It was just beautiful. And so I think that those are some of my thoughts that might lead you into a deeper contemplation about what Jesus says at the end of that passage. I am in them, and you are in me, that they may become completely one. Now we're going to sing the anthem, one verse at a time between each of the reflections. So you'll see that printed out in the bulletin here. The chorus and actually, yeah, the chorus.
Yeah. And I'm just going to say something about they're not exactly the verses, and just the note for the choir too. The verse 1 is actually part of the chorus. So just follow in the bulletin and you'll be fine. You have that, Tyson? Okay. So follow along with us first. And we'll sing the La La La's again after we sing the verse. Okay?
The benefits of this youth program were numerous, and we are lucky to be given the chance to participate.
Topics we learned about at Regional Council were all about journeying on, and this is a very exciting time for the United Church of Canada.
My favorite part was meeting new people and connecting with the community. It brought so many unique kids together. And I also enjoyed swimming on Saturday. It strengthened my inner sense of community and brought me closer to the Lord.
My favorite part was meeting youth from different areas and getting to make amazing friends. I formed very strong relationships in such a short time, which is very unique and so much fun.
I enjoyed being a part of parliamentary procedure, which is weird because I'm youth, but I'm a nerd. Say that. And being able to make my voice heard within the church by voting in business sessions. It was also extremely valuable to the opinions and perspectives of youth in the region that may well be very different from my own. I felt very empowered and important.
I feel very blessed, and I extend deep gratitude to this congregation for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
was not able to be here. So when I was texting back and forth with her this morning, I said, well, what would you like me to say? So first of all, Heather was inspired by a person she knew when she was a little child at Garneau, who approached her at a conference and at the regional gathering and said, would you consider being chair-elect of the executive? Because she had very thoughtful questions on the floor during business time. Britt saw in her a kind of leadership that would be of value to the church, and she accepted. So Heather will be the chair-elect of the regional executive. The other piece she found very inspiring at this event was how inclusive the business was. Most of the business was done in small groups of 8 where people could discuss proposals and then ask their questions, and then before we moved into parliamentary procedure, able to make friendly amendments to motions so that we wouldn't get bogged down in parliamentary procedure. So it was that she found very helpful too. And now I'd like to call on Allan, who is the other representative from St. Paul's, or one of the others that was at this region. Thank you.
I want you to come with me on a bit of a journey. Just as the service began at 10 last Sunday here at St. Paul's, another service was also getting underway in Valley View. The Northern Spirit region was beginning their first celebration of ministry. Representatives from 90 communities of faith had been in attendance over the past 3 days, and when the court was in session, there were close to 200 people assembled. However, unlike the order of service that you expected last Sunday, and you likely experienced, those of us in Valley View were in for something that was quite different. Our setting was a large arena in a recreation centre with an elevated track running around the top, much like a smaller version of the Millennium Place organisation in Sherwood Park. Seating was arranged in a circular fashion, and a large, colourful round table in the centre held, amongst other things, candles, the sacraments necessary for communion, and the sacred items for Indigenous ceremony. Our 20-voice choir had rehearsed with the musicians for a little over 2 hours, spread over the previous 2 days. Our music was from the Caribbean, Zimbabwe, Africa, Sierra Leone, and Spanish sources. Don't worry, said the tall, exuberant conductor, himself of Caribbean origin. You know it. And by the end of the short practice before the service on Sunday morning, we did. Now, you heard a little bit of laughter from the choir because they happen to know that I am the least flexible of people when it comes to changing orders of service on the fly. I learned a thing or two. R.W. Hofstra led us in Indigenous ceremony. First, he asked that all of the women at the service occupy the front row seats, and then that all the men stand behind them. When all were assembled, he explained this was to honour mothers and grandmothers, and he stressed the importance of the role of women and the role of men in nurturance and support of women and their community. RW's clear voice and powerful drumming brought everyone together as it resounded throughout the facility. It was magical. Lay representatives from the communities of faith, ministry personnel, members of the regional council, commissions, staff and guests participated in the liturgy of covenant during the celebration. At the end of the service, certificates were presented or were given to those of us representing our communities of faith. The certificates of covenant were issued that read in part, communities of faith and regional councils share in the ministry of the Holy One in mutual respect as part of the United Church of Canada. Together they celebrate God's presence, seek justice, and love and serve others. The covenantal relationship, intentionally and willingly entered into, is an important symbol of this commitment. Later this month at St. Paul's, members and adherents will also be given an opportunity to participate in covenanting. Watch the St. Paul's page for future details, and I do hope you will be able to attend.
From the very beginning, God's infinite love was planted in all of creation. God and Christ and the Spirit are the flow of relationship within and beyond all that is. The created and the creator are one. In all times and circumstances, then, that has led us to affirm and declare that God is with us. We are not alone. Through the ages, God has found many ways to speak through prophets and mystics, events and circumstances. And today, God continues to speak to us through Christ, who lives in and arises from communities of faith, who seek to live God's love for one another and for the world. God sees all people, the earth and the creatures, as one, and longs for us to share in the joy of unity where differences are embraced and love is known. At the last meal with his disciples, Jesus said, "My peace I give to you. My peace I leave with you." And then he gave them a commandment and he said, "Love one another as I have loved you." And then he prayed the prayer we heard this morning, that the love God had for him and the love he had for his followers might be known by all people. So it is that we come to this table where we celebrate God's love, made known to us in the life and the teachings of Jesus. And we remember that at the last meal with his friends, he took the bread off the table and he broke it. And he said, "This is my body broken for you." And then he took the cup. And he poured the wine and he said, "This is my blood poured out for you." Bread for our journey, and the cup of God's love. Let us pray. Holy One, be with us in this meal that we share together so that we might become closer to you and to one another and be strengthened and inspired for the work you call us to do in the world. We pray this in Jesus' name, amen. Will you join with me in prayer one more time? Great and loving God, we realize it is no easy thing to live in love. As we walk the journey of faith, we know we will need to see glimpses of your love and be strengthened by the company of others. Bless us and bless all people with your grace, your patience, and your peace. Amen. And let us sing Santo Santo one more time as the communion servers return to their places.
And when Catherine asked me to do one of the from the ground up in my field talks, she wondered if I would share about the medical clinics that Rod and I have been part of in Mexico. And I'm going to do that, but the medical clinics are part of a much larger umbrella organization called Los Amigos de Verón. And so it's because of the work, the relationships that have been built and the work that's been done by that organization that we were able to do a medical clinic. And so that's what I'm going to share with you today. The Friends of Verón is a community cooperative between the town of Verón and the residents of Estrella del Mar, or EDM, and that's the community that Rod and I live in when we spend time in Mexico. Verón is a town of about 3,000 people. So it's a small pueblo. Picture dirt roads, lots of stray dogs, tons of kids on bikes, and cedar block homes, and the friendliest and most hospitable people that I've ever met. Some of them are my good friends. I consider them my Mexican family. Both Verón and EDM are about a 45-minute drive from the city of Mazatlan. So how did the Friends of Verón start? Who laid the foundation for the cooperative that is now a registered charitable organization in Mexico and the United States? Well, you need to know about Dale and Linda, a couple from Calgary who have been longtime residents at EDM. They heard rumors of a bakery in Verón, and so they set out to find it. As they entered the town, they saw a kid on a bike, and speaking little or no Spanish, they merely said, "Panaderia." And the child motioned them to follow him, and they did, through the town, out of the town, down the dirt road, to a small farmhouse. The child pointed to the farmhouse and took off on his bike. While not seeing anything that remotely looked like a bakery to Dale and Linda, they made their way back into town, where they asked a second child on a bike, "Panaderia?" And the kid motioned them to follow, took them on the same route. They ended up back in the same spot. Kind of confused and not speaking the language, they left without checking it out. Once back in town, they noticed that the gate to the primary school was open. Both previous educators in Canada, they stopped and had a look around, and they were devastated by what they saw. Classrooms with little furniture, blackboards so old and well used that they couldn't read the writing that was on them, few resources, no library. As they were making their way back to a car, a man emerged from a smaller building, and that gentleman was the school principal. The principal walked them down the street a few houses, and they met Anna, a mom with 2 children at the school. Anna was a fluent English speaker, and that was the beginning of relationships that flourished to this day. The groundwork was laid. Dale saw many other opportunities for growth in the town, and he started microfinancing using Anna as his interpreter. What he soon noticed was that while there was production when he was in Mexico, nothing progressed while he was away, with the exception of 2 initiatives. He did find the bakery, though, exactly where the 2 young boys had taken him. In 2005, Dick, a Spanish-speaking American with a background in the Peace Corps, moved to EDM. He brought with him his expertise in and philosophy of contributing to local communities, but with a proviso. The community must contribute and has to be 100% behind any project that was considered. People need to have skin in the game, said Dick, so that they will take over and continue to run with projects that impact their community. The importance of building relationships, determining community needs, and working cooperatively to obtain goals became the new focus. Dale now had a partner from EDM who could speak Spanish. Other EDM residents with different skill sets started to be involved. Eventually, the 3 schools, the kindergarten, the primary, and the junior high in Baron, received new whiteboards, libraries were compiled, an artist from EDM painted murals in the libraries while the local parents painted the outside of the schools. Another resident who owns a cement and brick building company in Maclean donated cement for the outdoor courtyard of the primary school so that it no longer becomes a sea of mud in the rainy season. And that courtyard, which is the size of a basketball court, was also covered over, which gives the kids some protection from the sun. The people of Baron did the hands-on work. Schoolrooms were reorganized, computers donated. A fellow who now lives at EDM full-time and is an IT expert worked with the town to bring in internet to all the schools, and last fall that was upgraded to fiber optic cable. This has opened the world to the students in that small town. 2 retired dental hygienists from EDM organize other residents and run fluoride clinics in the schools twice a year. I got to do the in-class teaching this past winter, and that was quite a challenge and a lot of fun. There's also a full dental clinic with visiting and local dentists that happen in the town once a year. A lady from Comox rounded up a number of sewing machines. She'd seen the handiwork of several of the monks in Baron when we would attend a spring festival. And she found out that those moms were sharing one sewing machine. So now each of them has their own sewing machine. And they make beachwear for women as well as children's clothing. Known as Manos Felices, or Happy Hands, the women have a sale at EDM once a month between November and May. A student scholarship program for high school was established very early on, and the scholarship program is a 50-50 partnership between the students and their families and the residents of Australia and students that wanted to go to high school needed to travel into Maclean to do so. So they needed money for uniforms, for textbooks, for the bus, and for lunches. So students apply for scholarship once a year, and in order to maintain that scholarship money, they need to maintain at least a B standing in school. Eventually, a discussion evolved around why there wasn't a high school in the town. So plans were made and they were presented to the municipal government in Maclean. The government agreed to fund a teacher if the community would build a school and furnish it. So Baron provided the building, and the local families and the Friends of Baron did different fundraising initiatives to provide tables and chairs in the classrooms. And in 2018, we had our first graduate, the town of Baron had their first graduating class of 13 students. And now our scholarship program is solely for post-secondary education. And one of our scholarship students from Baron took dentistry at university. He's just finishing his servicio, or it's a year of service that all professional programs need to give back to their community. And he'll soon be a qualified dentist. In 2012, while our son Ben, who's a physician, was visiting, we met Dick's daughter Bonnie, who's also a physician. And we started to talk about whether or not there might be a need for a clinic in Baron. Medical care is free in Mexico, but just as in other countries, access to timely medical care can be a problem. Ailments or injuries often go untreated because a person would need to miss a day of work, travel into Maclean in order to be assessed, and then referred to treatment for treatment on another day. So in 2013, 2014, and 2015, we piloted 3 medical clinics in the town. They were held over a week with staggered hours so that people who worked in agriculture or fishing could still access the clinic. Concurrently, we held information and education sessions on diabetes, obesity, and high blood pressure that are common problems in Becking, and also on women's health. One of the objectives of the 3 pilot clinics that we participated in was to evaluate the need and the desire of the community to have a permanent clinic with a doctor, a full-time nurse, and a part-time dentist. It became clear to us that Becking could sustain a clinic like that. So Dick and Bonnie presented this idea to the Ejido, or the Town and Land Council, to the president, and he invited them to present it to the Ejido General Assembly. The Assembly voted to donate the land for the clinic. They then appointed a committee of 4 local women, the Ejido president and the Friends of Becking, to move the program forward. And over the last 3 years, the committee and Friends of Becking have raised 400,000 pesos, so that's almost 28,000 Canadian dollars for this project. In March of 2018, Becking solicited the help of the Maclean government to build, equip, and staff the clinic. The government approved the project and within 3 months provided plans and a budget, but then the mayor lost re-election in July. The committee presented the project to the new administration and it rejected it due to lack of funds. So at that point, we sort of thought that this project was finished. But the Friends of Becking had a meeting with the rest of the committee, and they decided that our best option was to solicit state government support. Luckily, the Becking Ejido president had a good contact who got the committee an audience with the governor's chief of staff and the Secretary of Health and Social Development. So the committee presented the project. To their surprise, the project was approved. The government representatives said they had the budget not only to build the clinic, but to equip and staff it as well. So a week later, the secretary showed up in the town of Becking with his entourage of 10 people to look at the site for the clinic and discuss further details. And he was constantly texting the governor during that meeting. And before the meeting was over, the governor called and approved the project. So that was in early March 2019. 3 weeks later, the Ejido Assembly met and signed over title of the land to the state of Sinaloa. The medical clinic project is now in the hands of the state. Catherine originally asked me to talk about the medical clinic, but as you can see, the clinic is a small part of what Friends of Becking have been involved in. For now, we continue to build community as we wait to build a community medical and dental building.
and know that you go blessed with God's love, with the peace of Christ, and the power of the Holy Spirit.